The first small tablet with built-in water cooling, the RedMagic Astra 2, and this one's even RGB. It looks so sick, it feels unreal. So with water cooling instead of a fan, does the RedMagic still deliver like its predecessors? So how did the side-mounted motherboard surpass the central one? Let us quickly explore referencing our RedMi and Legion reviews. The most noticeable changes on the RedMagic Astra 2 are its RGB water cooling and the long side ports. For the former, all I can say is I thought water cooling on phones was vivid enough. Never did I expect cramming it into a tablet would make it even more alive. The extra long water path runs right through the motherboard, past the core heat zone, and even fully covering the logo light panel. Both lighting zones can sync up or be set separately, featuring 3 brightness levels, 6 color types, and up to 10 lighting effects for different scenarios, paired with a fluorinated liquid. The whole look is quite surreal, as if it weren't a real physical pulsation but a simulated effect playing on the screen. Truly exquisite, ethereal, and wondrous. So what do you all think? What score would you give RedMagic for this design? Drop a comment below and join the chat. Unlike its phone counterpart, the RedMagic 5 Pro has no flow rate gears. It seems the default is high speed, while the 30-second demo's turbo mode auto-adjusts based on whole device stress and temp. While it might not look super obvious on screen, but the flow rate gap between them is quite sizable, around 20 to 25%. So as for the overall real-world effect, we'll dive into that in the performance section later on. While it still lacks a centered motherboard, this time RedMagic has added ports to its long edge. But note the port hierarchy, it is the exact opposite of mid-board models like those from RedMi and Lenovo Legion. RedMagic's full-function high-speed main port stays on the short edge, while the new side port is USB 2.0. So it handles fast travel C-bypass charging and connects controllers, keyboards, mice, and other standard peripherals. But for multimedia apps like casting or headphones, you still have to plug into that main port on the short side. Of course, thanks to RedMagic's short side port, whose spot is optimized to avoid blocking your hands, this is not much of an issue. Plus, when using both ports at once, no matter how you plug things in, it likely feels smoother and more comfortable all around. Also worth noting, while in portrait mode, the RedMagic's long edge front cam sees things from a side angle, but in landscape, it sits right in the center. In theory, this makes it more suited for gaming and office tasks, plus, along with the light sensor, it's less likely to get blocked. That's about it. It sticks to the prior model's framework, dual flat sides with softened edges. Overall, its form factor, build quality, and feel haven't changed much after all. Its USP is a compact body with a wide view, so its absolute size is bound to be a tad larger. But visually, thanks to the high screen to body ratio and the clear back panel window, this isn't all that noticeable. Weight, due to cooling tweaks plus a mere 100 mAh battery bump, has actually dropped. Let us check performance and heat. 30 degrees Celsius 3D mark test. Building on the data from the last Redmi and the Lenovo Legion models for a rough reference, the results. Well, let us just say it is a true titan dominating the heavens and crushing all gods. Its output is a tier above last year's, with awakening mode akin to Diablo 1's water cooling kicks in. The device peaks at 16.8 watts. It is average near 15 watts furious output rips through performance, besting the Lenovo Legion with the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 by 40%. Dimensity 9500 Redmi by 64%. In this 24K sky-high bare-bone state, I bet that aside from its own phones, every single device out there would make anyone's eyes go wide with shock. As for temperatures, since the tablet's on the larger side, we will focus on the more meaningful average surface temperature. Here, extreme stress meets extreme output, so temps are naturally no joke, regardless of water cooling. The RedMagic 5 Pro's entire surface averaged over 50 degrees Celsius. The hottest spot stays at the back, near the motherboard with water cooling off. It hit an epic 71.5 degrees Celsius. So much so that the backplate's heat map had to be colored with separate isotherms, else it'll look like this. Since the temp gap versus other spots is so huge, you can't make out a thing, right? Okay, 4 things to follow. First off, don't panic, those stress test temps won't pop up in daily use. Plus, looking at past models with similar peak temps, the heat map shows that passive cooling has seen a marked boost, with the overall heat dissipating area much larger than before. The central heat zone still steers clear of the main grip areas. In terms of its layout, calling it non-central would be a misnomer. It acts as if it were central. Lastly, water cooling's main job is to spread heat fast, not to cool things down. From this standpoint, you could say that even when faced with liquid metal's ultra-focused heat conduction, it did indeed serve its purpose and felt quite efficient too. When enabled, the motherboard's hot zone spreads out to both sides, which directly cuts the peak hotspot temp by 2.5 degrees Celsius. But since this is a heavy load heat saturation scenario, that 2.5 degrees Celsius did not just vanish, it got spread across the device's body. This explains why the average surface temperature actually climbed a tad. So since it fares this well in extreme cases, actual gaming performance bears great promise. We'll circle back to this later. Bottom line, This whole setup is clearly geared towards their own closed-loop ecosystem this year. This flat backplate, those targeted heat zones, pairing that with water cooling but not the 8 Pro magnet mount, what a sheer waste. Folks, take a guess, can this thing keep things cool? Again, at 30 degrees Celsius ambient temp. Turns out, even with a magnetic plate in between, the fit is still insane. With the 8 Pro Max top setting engaged, the only thing that could curb this beast's performance is likely the socket itself. AVG output shot up to a wild 16W and the frame rate dipped just 4% versus a single run, nearly maxing out frames the whole time. But its AVG body temp hit 40°C while the motherboard area plunged by over 20 degrees once water cooling kicked in. While the surface temps post-thermal equilibrium do not vary much, PerfDog logged the GPU and battery running about 1 degree cooler on average. Burst of neverness to everness on max settings, RedMagic renders at about 1080p, like Redmi and Lenovo Legion. But then something magical happened, whether due to sheer optimization, the fabled Red Core R4 finally kicking in hard, or some other hidden reason. Compared to past RedMagics, this performance is just wild. It uses an insanely low 6.7W on average, yet delivers full frame results across all metrics, AVG FPS 1% and 0.1% lows. Yet, its frame rate experience score hit high 95. With similar GPU usage, the CPU's normalized average usage was 6.4% lower than the same SoC Lenovo Legion Y700. Performance boost mode did not win via brute force, that caught me off guard. Temp, well, with lower power draw, temps stay low naturally. Surface AVG 40.6 semi with or without cooling, ASA. TDF slide at the hotspot on the back's motherboard area, turning on water cooling drops it by about 1.3 degrees Celsius, with internals down by around 1 degree. For our nights and field, the render resolutions across several similar tablets are much the same. Here, the RedMagic isn't as dominant as in neverness to everness, it's a bit bumpy, yet its power draw stays lower. Plus, no major frame drops later on. Overall, it's still better. With water cooling, it averaged 6.9W for 59.5 FPS with 1% low at 29.6 and a frame rate score of 65. Whether water cooling is on or not, there's no clear impact on the average front temp. What's more noteworthy is the back's hottest spot, which dropped by 1.6 degrees Celsius. As for internal temps, there's scan change, and for Honor of Kings World, it's tough to tell what the render resolution is, since to the naked eye, they look pretty much identical. But my sense is RedMagic's output likely is not as high as the other two. It is gotta be a bit lower. Bolstered by this, plus its superb performance output is what most likely enabled such a massive leap. With water cooling on, the RedMagic pulling an average 13 watts, kept hitting full frames with 1% lows around 50 FPS. With a frame rate score of 64, its smoothness clearly outperforms the 10.4 watts Lenovo Legion Y700 and 9.7 watts Redmi K-Pad 2. So since it hit 13 watts, temps are bound to climb higher, much like during a stress test. Water cooling significantly lowered hotspot temperatures, especially on the motherboard, which went from 67.8 to 62.3, a 5.5 degrees Celsius drop. But up front, the AVG temp rose 0.8 degrees Celsius, the internal GPU temp stayed put, while only the battery dropped by 1 degree. Lastly, for Wuthering Waves, first up, the render resolution with graphics cranked to max, the RedMagic lines up with the mobile version at around 980p. For those who've seen our past few videos, you'd know that the actual render resolution on the K-Pad 2 and the Lenovo Legion Y700 is way too high far beyond what their gens can handle. To balance this, I manually cranked these two down to their lowest settings today, but even so, it's still a tad higher than the RedMagic's, meaning it has to bear more strain no matter what, so do note that. Unsurprisingly, RedMagic still leads the pack by a wildly huge margin. Using just 9 watts on average, that is 400% of the Lenovo Legion's 9.5 watts for overall smoothness and 200% of the Redmi's 11.2 watts. I do not know what you all make of that, but to me, even factoring in extra rendering hurdles, that Lenovo Legion frame rate still seems a bit off. Sure, some folks might say, so what if FPS is low? My temps are low too. Yeah, surface temps are low, but note this PerfDog. The GPU's internal temp is nearly 10 degrees higher. As for the RedMagic, there is not much difference between its average surface and internal temps. With water cooling on, the hottest spot, especially near the motherboard, saw the biggest drop, falling by 3.4 degrees Celsius. Dual X-axis vibration, RedMagic's motors are perfectly placed for balanced haptics. Lenovo Legion's is weaker, while Redmi's is strongest but inconsistent. Take aim for peace, see how it does not sync with the visuals. External audio, since they're small tablets, all these guys pack a punch. No huge gaps, just different styles. The RedMagic sounds a bit colder, the Lenovo Legion is quite warm and rich, while the Redmi sits pretty much in between. I wonder which one you all prefer. Give it a listen if you care to. If not, just skip ahead 1 minute. As for the screen, things like its high contrast versus LCDs, no light bleed, no edge dimming and so on, these perks need no rehashing. Resolution remains unchanged, though if you pixel peep, it is still a bit softer than RedMI or Lenovo Legion. Key changes for the RedMagic are brightness boost and that 185Hz refresh rate. For brightness, full screen manual average maximum brightness is 765 nits. Peak brightness hits 1220 nits for 10% HDR windows. It is around 1230 nits, so overall default mode sees about a 15% boost over its predecessor. Toggling boost mode bumps the full screen manual max brightness up to 900 nits, marking a 38% hike. Sideways, both the RedMI K-Pad 2 and the Legion Y700 Gen 5 pale next to the RedMagic's brightness. So, plus, uniformity is the one area that saw clear gains, up by at least 34%. Oddly enough, power draw seems to have dropped, which makes the Redmi's draw slightly higher in comparison. Still, rainbow artifacts at wide angles persist and the color temperature shifts quite a bit when you move your view. Luckily, brightness decay is quite low, so for daily use, especially when showing complex content, the color temp impact is quite manageable. Honestly, for the 185Hz refresh rate, if you are upgrading from 120Hz, then 185Hz is definitely better. But if you're already at 165Hz, then there's no need to sweat it. After all, assuming 240Hz is the perfect score, the perceived gain from 165 to 185 is, strictly speaking, quite small, right? I think rather than mulling that over, the material itself offers more direct gains. RedMagic's OLED pixel response is far quicker than LCDs, yielding a much crisper, snappier display. In default mode at 10 nits in dim light, blue light might surprise you, and its quality isn't inherently tied to being an LCD. In fact, RedMagic's OLED, be it its peak wavelengths or its high-energy blue light share, is comparatively stronger. But dimming flicker is unique to OLED Mate at 185Hz refresh. The dimming frequency hits that official advertised figure. Given that it is seldom used, let us stick to normal cases here. RedMagic swaps to DC like at high brightness and 2160Hz at low brightness. Even around 10 nits of brightness, SVM sits at about 0.4 to 0.5, plenty eye-friendly, no issues there. Worth noting, if this is a big deal for you, just stick with auto brightness when using it at night with the lights off. The system will auto-adjust to around 16 nits, ensuring the SVM stays below 0.4, just right, so we do not advise tweaking it any darker manually. Display-wise, things are much like before. In default mode, Lenovo Legion and RedMagic lean vibrant, while Redmi stays cooler and softer. Plus, the most noticeable difference has to be the HDR playback. Take a quick look, folks. For touch, RedMagic sticks with their exclusive Synaptics chip, but this time it feels a bit overkill as the system UI boasts the same 180Hz sampling rate as in-game. In Honor of Kings, with high sampling on, it hits around 295Hz with no odd issues overall. In touch response tests at a uniform 120Hz refresh rate and the same screen zoom, the Lenovo Legion and Redmi fared about the same. But if you split hairs, the Lenovo Legion's lag is faintly shorter by half a frame. But in actual gaming, you likely won't get that, since this thing only hits its max sampling rate in non-game apps. Lastly, for software, the helper plugins are much the same as before, so I will not rehash that. As for PC game emulation, just like on phones, it now supports Steam Sync 2. As for battery life setting performance aside, RedMagic's 8300 mAh battery is bound to be a bit weaker versus a 9000 mAh one. But its recharge speed is quite decent, about on par with Lenovo Legion, and a tad faster than Redmi. Okay, all told, RedMagic's leaps this year are huge, and their approach is far more aggressive. The built-in water cooling plus RGB combo is clearly one of a kind in today's small tablet space. Looks and recognition are maxed out. Plus, paired with boosted passive cooling, it delivers superb heat distribution, and thanks to this cooling system, it squeezes out sustained output that far outshines its peer. Key tuning seems much more mature and solid now, no longer just brute forcing miracles. The only trade-off might be the slightly smaller battery. but trading a few hundred miles for that long side port and better cooling seems like a worthy swap, plus fast charging makes up for it. Anyway, so if you seek top-tier gaming performance and favor bold, flashy designs among small flagship tablets, the RedMagic Astro 2 is surely one of the most worthwhile choices out there right now. So what do y'all think? Did RedMagic's performance this year meet your expectations? Feel free to comment and share your thoughts. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. I'm Big Hand Bro. See you next time.